Hello and welcome to Issues and Insights, the show that keeps you up to date on all the exciting and good things happening in our community. I'm your host, Kendra Scott, and we appreciate you tuning in today. Now, perhaps you have heard the terms food insecurity or even food deserts. Well, these things are real and they exist in our community, and including the surrounding area. Luckily, we have Feeding America, Kentucky's Heartland, who is here, and they are battling those issues and helping to feed our communities far and wide. They're a huge organization and they are devoted to helping take care of thousands of people right here at home. So here today to talk about the agency is Executive Director Jamie Sizemore and Marketing and Communications Manager Kaitlyn Jackson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
So
me.
glad to have you all.
Yes.
Everybody looks so pretty.
Oh, thank you. We all dressed for the occasion.
We
Yes,
did.
we
We all
got the black memo.
got the
so.
memo. I love it. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about the history of Feeding America, Kentucky's Heartland, kind of how it came to be and how it got here in our community.
Okay. So it's a great story. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year. The food bank was founded in 1982 by two wonderful ladies in this community, Miss Dottie Hanson, which I know a lot of people know Dottie, and she did a lot in the community, and Miss Rita Jenkins. And they attended a food hunger summit, really, that was here in Elizabethtown. A lot of people came in, but as most things happen, those two ladies stepped up and said, we're going to make this happen. So they formed the food bank. Started out, literally, they were collecting change
Oh my goodness.
to open a P.O. box, and we still have that P.O. box today.
Aw.
And from there, it just grew into an organization. So we just surpassed 330 million pounds of food from our inception, which is 41 years ago. We've expanded. It started kind of in central Kentucky, and we now cover 42 counties in the state of Kentucky. Yes.
Their little vision and their mission to feed hungry folks is now this amazing, huge, enormous organization.
Yes, exactly. And Miss Rita Jenkins is just so humble. She is still living. She was able to attend a couple of events that we've had, and every time she walks away going, I just can't believe this happened from what we tried to do, just to feed this immediate area and how much it's grown. So we're so grateful for the two ladies and what they've done.
You're not kidding. Well, it also speaks, though, to the need that the needs obviously have continued to grow and expand over 40 years that has caused the agency to grow and develop. And, of course, it didn't start out as a partnership with Feeding America. It was Kentucky Food Bank, but then grew, and so now you're part of this wonderful nationwide network, which helps, I know, with advertising and that name recognition, that sort of thing. But we know that you're small, local, independent. So talk about the mission and goals of your local organization of Feeding America, Kentucky's Heartland.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, we are part of a network which we're so grateful for, because the 200 food banks that belong to Feeding America, we work together to move food all across this country. So our job as a regional food bank is to get food sourced from all over the nation, including the state of Kentucky, and bring it into our region. And then we push it right back out to our agency partners. And we have over 250 agency partners in those 42 counties. They are the real boots on the ground. They're literally serving their neighbors in their small communities, on their street blocks, whatever the case may be. But our job is to get food into this community. And so we are a 501c3. We are a nonprofit organization. We are not, people ask us all the time, are you funded by the government? No. We have government contracts because we help them with two of their programs, which is TFAP and CSFP program. But we're a 501c3. We operate independently and, and make it happen.
That's amazing. And tell us a little bit, how is the food procured, and then how do you distribute it and get it out to all those agencies in 42 counties?
So we procure food from lots of different sources. Probably one of the ones that we're all very proud of is our food rescue program. So we, this past year, over 3.8 million pounds of food was rescued that otherwise would have gone into the landfills. We work with retailers like Walmart, Sam's Club, Kroger, Aldi's, and pick up perfectly good food, perishable foods like produce, dairy, bakery, and meat.
Okay.
So the meat, the sell-by date on the meat, for example, that's fresh meat, so they have to sell it in that time period, but it's still perfectly good they put it in the freezer. I do the same thing at home.
Oh gosh, we all do.
Absolutely. And then we're able to pick it up, or our agency partners, and we're able to distribute that out, keep it frozen and distribute it out and safely distribute it. And otherwise it would go in the landfill. We work with manufacturers that have excess product and they donate. We work with distributors. We work with Kentucky farmers. Oh. We have an amazing Farms to Food Bank program, and we actually, right now, we're in the middle of it, aren't we? Absolutely. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So each summer, typically, when there is a higher growing season, when we start to get all the fresh produce and vegetables in, we work with Kentucky farmers from across our region and across our state to get the unmarketable, unsellable products that they have, things that might have minor blemishes, they're not perfect in size, they might have too much going to market right now. And instead of being turned under in their fields, they get to provide those to our neighbors facing hunger. So we work to get those out into our communities. We were just Monday in Lyon County doing a distribution there of we had cabbage, we had onions, we had squash, cucumbers, all kinds of wonderful things that if you go to the grocery store right now, it's expensive, especially fresh produce. So we're really lucky to have those partnerships with those Kentucky farmers that also benefits them. So for all of the produce that they provide to us, they get a supplement back so that it's not worthless on their end. You know, they still get something for all the work that they did and provided, and we get to feed people.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
It is. It's the best of both worlds. I'm sure they feel really good about seeing exactly where their food is going. It's not being shipped off to market or whatever, but knowing they are feeding their neighbor, their family, their church members, whatever. And that their product and hard work, like you said, is not going to waste.
Absolutely.
So
They're paid for that, yes.
that is amazing.
Yes.
People probably don't know a lot about that. I bet. That's probably one of those under the radar.
Farms to Food Banks has
Yes.
been a very successful program. And then we purchase a lot of food. We do have U.S. government commodities with TFAP and CSFP that helps us tremendously. But the TFAP program specifically is just kind of like hit a cliff after the pandemic, and so we're not getting as much. So we have purchased more food this past fiscal year than we ever have in the history of the food bank.
Oh,
so,
wow. And talk a little bit about what that program is.
So it's a purchase. Well, we have two programs really. We purchase food just because, for example, we've purchased a lot of meat this year and subsidized that cost. So our agency partners had meat to send out because meat was very difficult to find earlier this year.
And it's so expensive.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, beef is just very, very expensive right now. It's a little bit better with chicken and pork. So we've spent, just the food bank ourselves, we spent over $700,000 this year just on meat, subsidizing the meat. But we also have a purchasing co-op for our agencies where we buy in bulk. We buy a whole tractor trailer load of green beans, for example. They order from us, like they may only need 4 or 5 cases, and then they just reimburse us for that, what those 4 or 5 cases cost. And then we have a little bit of shared maintenance, which means the transportation costs, the overhead costs, but it's much cheaper for them than if they were going to try to buy something else. Our agencies love that program.
I bet.
But we buy a lot of food as well, just to subsidize what they need.
Well, it has to be done. So.
Absolutely.
And that kind of leads us into talk a little bit about what is food insecurity and what do you see across our region?
Yeah.
For sure. So part of being a national network is that FANO, or Feeding America National, will offer to us resources that they have that we don't have the bandwidth to do. And some of those resources are wonderful studies, research that they provide across our nation. And one of those is the Map the Meal Gap study. It comes out each year. It evaluates food insecurity by county. So we can actually look throughout all of our 42 counties and see across age differences. So not only the county as a whole, but what does it look like for children? What does it look like for adults? And see the food insecurity there. So, for example, in Hardin County, we have 1 in 10 adults in Hardin County are food insecure.
Oh, wow.
And it's 1 in 8 children in Hardin County that are food insecure.
Oh, gosh. Has that number changed? Has it decreased, increased?
It has actually decreased from the previous year, so we're very thankful to have some really good milestones this year in our Map the Meal Gap study. For example, Nelson County, we have gotten them below double digits.
Oh, wonderful.
And we are excited for that. It's a major milestone. I think it's the first time in several years that that's happened.
First time in the history of Map the Meal Gap for our area that we've had a county in single digits, actually.
Wow. So your efforts are obviously working.
Yes. So, we get to see the progress we've made when we get the data and look at it, but it also helps us to direct our work further. So we can see, I think, Fulton County, we have a 24% food insecurity rate, which is very high. And so we know, okay, here's what we can do in Fulton County. It allows us to reflect on our programs, on the work that we're doing, and to be a little more intentional in the counties where they need the additional help. So Hardin County, we said their numbers had decreased, but our whole service area is a little bit higher than that. So across our service area, 1 in 7 kids are food insecure. So the data tends, Hardin County isn't our lowest, we'll say that. But there definitely still is work to be done here. So, we have our backpack program going on here. Recently, this year, we piloted a new program here. Jamie, would you want to talk about the RX program?
Ooh,
yes. So, throughout our service area, we really try to look at our programs and how we can best serve the needs. So this new pilot that we just started, we're trying to meet people where they are. So one of our board of directors, Stephanie Goff, who's with Lincoln Trail Health District, she and I had a conversation one day about the clients that come to the health department and specifically WIC, the WIC clients, and the number one issue they had was not enough food in the household. So they would refer them to services like a pantry or whatever, but transportation is a huge issue. So under 5% was actually, they were following up, I was able to get to a pantry or get somewhere in time, to get the food necessary. So we now pilot this program where when their patients come in, they screen them for food insecurity, just like they screen for every other health issue, because that is a detriment to their health if they don't have enough food. If they're positive, they leave with food. We have a box of non-perishables, and in some cases we're offering frozen meat as well. In that box of food, you're going to have vegetables, and it's all healthy, by the way.
Good.
Low sodium vegetables, no, I'm trying to say fruit in its own juice, for example. We have pasta, whole wheat pasta. We have protein, we have chicken, we have tuna in there, we have soups. So it has shelf-stable milk, it has juice. So they're leaving with about 20 plus items in this box that they can take home. And we also refer them to additional resources. But we're meeting people where they are. The Hardin County Health Department here locally was part of this test pilot. And also the pediatric clinic, Norton's Pediatric Clinic here in town, was also part of that pilot. We had 6 sites, and we learned a lot, and we're expanding that program, and it's great. It's been a great program.
Well, and it's just as common sense, and I'm sure you're probably like, why didn't we think of this before? But you're right, meeting people where they are. And I know we see often the mobile food pantry, and again, you're going to communities and meeting folks where they are. So tell us a little bit about how that program works.
So the mobile food pantry program, again, is a great program, and you mentioned we were in Lyon County this week. It allows us to get into communities, food deserts, as you mentioned before. It allows us to do that. It allows us to get excess product or additional product that's needed. So, for example, the Farms to Food Bank program, we have to move that produce quickly, very quickly. And part of that is doing sometimes mobile food pantries. We served 480 households in Lyon County. That's a perfect example. Just in one day and 2.5 hours with fresh produce.
That's amazing.
That were in need. And so mobile food pantry is very, very important for us to move product out quickly and or go into food deserts, supply additional resources in counties where we're not meeting the needs of people that are food insecure.
That's wonderful. Well, because I think sometimes folks maybe just don't know where to go. And so if they don't know, obviously you don't know what you don't know. So when it's bringing the whole mountain to Muhammad type of situation. So, and then if 480 people came out, so the next time they will be aware and they will know, and they're going to tell somebody, this is what Feeding America does, and they're here to help, and this is how you get involved. So, and I've seen you all. I mean, we all see the work that goes on when you're distributing food boxes, or we hear about the senior program or backpack program. So we see and hear all the things that you're doing, but maybe folks aren't aware. So tell us a little bit more about the Senior Food Box Program, because that obviously, how many seniors are you serving under that?
Close to 9,000.
Yes, we're 9,000 a month.
That's amazing.
So that particular program is for seniors 60 and older, and it's based on income. It's a USDA program. So once they qualify for that program, and as long as they continue, they can get that every month for the rest, as long as they need it. It's a box of product. It has around 20 items in it. And again, it covers all food groups. And a 2-pound block of cheese.
Yay! That is
And
the best.
do not mess with the cheese.
Right.
When it comes to the seniors, don't mess with the cheese.
Don't mess with their cheese.
Yes,
We all know.
That's one
government
of their
cheese.
favorite things. But
Why,
that's
yes.
a very successful program. One of the things that, though, is very concerning to us, and you want to talk about the 50 to 59 age group and the concern we have there and what we're seeing.
Yeah, of course. So back to research and data. So seniors in our service area, 1 in 14 are food insecure. But what concerns us the most is actually an age range that falls below, so 50 to 59. We have 1 in 7 that are food insecure. We are ranked 4th in the country for the highest rates of food insecurity for ages 50 to 59.
And what do you think causes that?
There's a lot going on in that age group, and the reason we're watching that very closely is because they're aging into that senior population, and so we know that that's going to be a huge need. But there's just a lot of issues. The pandemic has really taken obviously caused a lot of issues. Just overall. Inflation, inflation, the fact that the cost of food continues to be high at the grocery store. I mean, and you have affordable housing issues.
Yes.
There's so many root causes to food insecurity. People don't wake up today and say, hey, I'm going to be food insecure today. I'm not going to know where my next meal comes from. Those are all the root causes, which are affordable housing, good pay wages, also affordable medical care or medicine. So those things have to come first, and many times, and if you don't have enough money in your budget, guess what's last on the list? Groceries. And so if you don't have enough money, you're not going to have food on the table on a consistent basis, and that's what we're seeing. The other thing that I think is raising that group too is grandparents raising grandchildren. Kentucky we're in the top 2 for grandparents and or relatives raising children. And what we see a lot of is those grandparents are raising the grandchildren, but they may not have legal custody of that child, but the child is staying with them.
Yes.
And so they don't have the additional resources, and so they'll skip meals in order to feed that child. And then their health is in jeopardy after that.
Exactly. And do you find with that generation that sometimes they're too proud to ask for assistance?
We were in Allen County, so just below Warren County, a couple months ago. I think it was April, and I had the chance to talk to 2 people that are neighbors, our clients that we serve. And one of them, her name was Judy, and she's raising her great-grandson.
Oh, my.
And she never expected to be raising another child at her age. And he has some health issues that require him to not eat processed foods or high sugars. And so really getting like fresh produce and fresh vegetables to him is important. And so Judy shared that she would purchase those things out of her budget for him, but she would not have enough to purchase for herself. And so we see that time and time again. It's when you're in that position, when you have those extra bills, the medication that you have to buy, another mouth to feed, you put yourself last. And she talked about pride too, of people that are older feel that it's kind of embarrassing to ask for help sometimes. There's a lot of stigma around it. They think that it's admitting something. But we try to reassure people that, a lot of our elderly senior neighbors have put so much into these communities. They're the people that we look at and we can say, oh, you worked for so-and-so for 50 years. Or, we see their history see what they've done for our communities, and we take care of them. You know, we want to be there to take care of them.
And that's what we say is, look, it's time for us. This is a gift.
Yes.
This is a gift because you've taken care of us. We had a nurse in Warren County, same situation, who had taken care of patients for years and then found herself food insecure. And so we were like, think of all the patients you've cared for. Now it's time for us to take care of you.
There you go. That's beautiful, and reciprocating it. And I see it. I'd be like, you know, you're helping us because you're keeping this food out of a landfill or from just being tossed aside or whatever. And we do. That's the whole point, is that we all take care of one another at some point in our lives. So, thank you for doing that, because that's really beautiful that it comes full circle.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And of course, we are going back to school. It is that time of year. I can't believe it. So on the other end, we have our seniors, but on the opposite end, you have our children. And so the backpack program is probably one of your most popular that we hear a lot about. So tell us about that and how folks can support and be involved with that.
So the backpack program, again, you're right, it's one of our most successful programs, and people are so committed. There's a couple of ways you can support it. Obviously, to donate to the backpack program. We are still, again, Feeding America, the last 2 years, we've subsidized that program because it's still $3 a bag. And the food costs have gone up so much that it's really around $4.70 a bag, but we're subsidizing that. But it's $3 a bag for an entire school year for a student. You're looking at $120 to make sure that every Friday when they go home, if there's not enough food in the house, they're taking a bag of snacks and foods and things to supplement them till they get back to school, where they can get steady school meals. And then you can also come and volunteer. We pack those bags at our volunteer center at 300 Peterson Drive. It is air conditioned. Yay!
Brand new.
Yes,
That's
brand
probably
new,
exactly.
improved,
We
fancy.
have remodeled. It's a beautiful facility. The reception area for the volunteers. It's air conditioned. We served 5,300 kids last year each week on that program. Of course, and that's not just Hardin County, but also other counties. But Hardin County is our largest as far as the number of students that we serve. I'll tell you another program that we're piloting this school year is the school pantry program. The pilot's not here in Hardin County. It's in 6 other school districts. We're starting with some smaller school districts. We like to pilot so we can learn and fix everything, get the processes in place. But I'm sure that will be expanded. But we're actually putting pantries into school districts, full pantries, to serve not just the students, because we find a lot of the older students will not do the backpack program. The younger ones will, of course. But they need food as well. But we're also going to be serving families of those students.
That's wonderful.
And the Friskies will be running those pantries, and they know those kids, and they know those parents well. So we're excited about that. Again, we're meeting people where they are.
Right there, because they're on the front lines at the Friskies.
Exactly.
They know and they see. And again, if you think about all the food that is wasted in the cafeteria on a daily basis, that could be going to help someone. So again, meeting them right where they are.
Exactly.
That is brilliant.
Yes. We're learning. You know, sometimes you're like, you have those aha moments and you're going, okay, people can't always get to a pantry. We have a lot of working families that may not necessarily be able to get there exactly for their needs. So that's why we think that this school pantry program is going to be very successful. And we've seen it at other food banks that it works. So,
because you know, sometimes transportation is another barrier for families.
Oh, it's a
It's a huge barrier. So
It is.
again, you're making it as easy as possible, because we know kids cannot learn and function if they are hungry. Families cannot thrive if they're worrying about food. That stress and anxiety, I mean, it just takes out so much if tummies are full.
But the backpack program, again, is very successful, and we encourage people to continue to support that. We need those. We need help. We can't do it alone. You know, it takes all of us to feed people, and you know, we can move food. We've shown over and over again as a network and as a food bank that we can move food safely, and we know how to do it. But it takes money.
Millions.
It takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of resources, but we can do the work.
Sure. And tell us how folks can do that, obviously. What is the easiest way, or how folks can contribute, whether it's their time or their resources, their funds? Because like you said, it doesn't take much. $120, you can sponsor a kid. But if someone wants to give $5 to, $25, $5,000, 1,000, whatever. What's the best way for folks to contribute?
Yeah, and so actually, each dollar donated, we can purchase up to 8 meals, or the equivalent of 8 meals with that. So you can really stretch that a lot when you invested in the food bank power, and our purchasing power. But yeah, donations are easy. You can always donate online. Our website is www.feedingamericaky.org. There is a donate button right there on our front page. Makes it very simple. You can donate specifically to the backpack program, to those kids. You can support any of the other programs or wonderful things that we're able to do there. You can also mail checks. So we have P.O. Box 821, the same one that Miss Rita and Miss Dottie gathered change for. We've kept it to this day.
I love it.
And so you can always make out a check to Feeding America Kentucky's Heartland. If you want to write something in the memo, more than welcome to if you have a special designation, but you can mail those in as well. And then for anyone that is seeking food, so obviously it takes a lot, but we also have resources on our website for those that are seeking food resources. There's a Find Help button right there. They can also give us a call. Our office number is 270-769-6997, and we can direct them to food resources that will best assist them and fit the needs that they have.
That's perfect. So what about folks that want to volunteer?
Ooh,
Let's talk about that.
That's even better. We love our volunteers.
Yes.
And it's a blast. You'll have a wonderful time, we assure it.
It is. It's fun.
So you can call the same number, or if you want to be directly connected to our volunteer coordinator, Miss Melissa Neary, you can call 270-735-1407. She'll get you on the schedule. We just ask that you wear closed-toed shoes, please, please, please.
Yes. We want everybody to be safe.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. It is
And
a
have some
warehouse.
toes.
Right. Because it's a good little workout.
It is.
But it's fun, and it is. You can get a group. It can be a church
Yes.
group. It can be an
Yes.
individual. It can be.
It's a good team building
it
exercise.
really
We have
is.
companies that come out, and so it is a very good team building, and it is a working warehouse. So that's why we ask people to wear
Closed-toed
closed-toed
shoes.
Yeah.
But it's so yes, 300
Peterson
Drive
Drive.
is our volunteer center, and also they can email volunteer@feedingamericaky.org, and then Melissa can respond to that as well if email works better for them.
Okay.
So.
Do you have to be a certain age to volunteer?
We do ask 7 and older.
Okay.
So that means, once you get to second grade, first or second grade, depending on age, you can come start serving. That way they're able to participate and actually do some of the things that we require in the warehouse. And it's fun. We see, we had St. James Church bring in some kids just last week. They had a blast. They had such a wonderful time. We had a VBS group, I think yesterday, come in. Wonderful time. So even if it's kids, even if it's a whole family, regardless, we also have people on the opposite end of the spectrum. That are older. They love it. They come in. They spend anywhere to from like 1 to 2 hours, and they get to make a difference. We pack all of those 9,000 senior boxes at our volunteer center. We pack all 5,300 of those backpack program bags at the volunteer center. So they're making direct impact on those programs and feeding those people.
That's amazing. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, our time is running very short, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
apologize.
That's fine.
I know it
No.
goes by so fast.
I know
feel
we
like
could talk all day.
We
could
could talk all day
Yes.
because there's so much to share, but it's
Yeah.
amazing the work that you all do and that it's changing lives literally across the Commonwealth. So thank you for what you do, for your volunteers, and we appreciate your hearts of service, and that it's amazing. I am floored by the impact that you're making. So we're going to change those numbers even more.
Exactly.
That's the goal. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, we hope folks will get involved and they will support
Yes.
in any way, shape, or form. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope that you will take advantage of all that Feeding America has to offer. Check them out online, on Facebook, all the places, and give them your support. So on behalf of HCEC-TV, I'm Kendra Scott. Thanks for tuning in today. Please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.